This is the VSA Morning Miner, and it's Wednesday, the 5th of February. And I, David Scrimmel, with Paul. How are you today, Paul?
I'm very well. Thank you very well.
We're enjoying the sun like our colleagues in Cape Town.
I guess so. A little bit colder, though.
Yes. Well, talking of that colour, of course, gold has powered ahead to dollars 2,867, and we've had news out from the World Gold Council advising us that gold demand was up 1% from the year prior. Central bank buying exceeds 1,000 metric tons for the third consecutive year, and gold ETFs saw a return of inflows in the second half. There was some weakness in jewelry, but it's still a very strong outlook. And perhaps, Paul, you could kindly comment on Mr. Trump and his executive order on Monday to create a sovereign wealth fund.
Yes, that's right. He did make an executive order signing that they do intend to set up a sovereign wealth fund, something over the next 12 months. And according to the newly appointed U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, that plan is to monetize assets currently owned by the U.S. government. Now, those assets, they did not otherwise qualify as to what they may be, but just to remind listeners that the U.S. government, among those assets, owns an awful lot of federal land, for example, that would be eligible both surface rights and mineral rights in order for it to monetize. Now, that would definitely not be kindly treated by the environmental lobby and would be heavily opposed. But a sovereign wealth fund does make sense, for instance, if they're going to put some portion of revenues, like in this trading they've been doing over the last couple of decades in the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, if they put some of that revenues back into the fund, for instance, for that purpose. So there is merit to the idea for sure, and we'll see how it plays out as to actual quantified decisions.
Indeed, we will. And moving on from there, and could I have your thoughts on EMX royalty and Chris Wright?
Yes, that's right. Chris Wright, who has been one of the principals of TSX listed mining royalty firm EMX Royalty, has resigned his position because he has been appointed to be Secretary of Energy under President Donald Trump. This would be very beneficial, essentially, for the natural resources industry and specifically for mining, because of Chris's experience and understanding of what exactly is needed in early stage development of mining projects, because of the history and successful history at that of creating a business out of EMX Royalty, which has over the years acquired early stage assets, written royalties on them as they sell them on to interested parties, and gain revenue once they're developed into mines. So very helpful, I think, for the mining industry in his appointment.
Very interesting. And moving on, just your thoughts on SASOL, Anglo American, and De Beers JV Joint Development Agreement.
Yes, this was announced down at Indaba this week, and it is the development agreement between the three of them, specifically for South Africa, to trial the circular economy, the sourcing and deployment of biofuels in the name of trial vegetable oil feedstock. The De Beers has donated 20 hectares of land in order to grow at least two varieties of plants which produce vegetable oil, and Anglo American and De Beers will be working to actually refine, or SASOL will be working to refine that into biodiesel, and then De Beers and Anglo American then will trial those on a pre-feasibility study basis in operations that they have. So it looks like they're going to do a significant effort in this regard. Biodiesel is already used by the construction industry around the world, including right here in the UK, across from our offices, for instance. So it is a growing element in the decarbonizing of the construction industry for sure. And if it works in mining equipment as well, so much the better. Also, remember that Anglo American is also trialing hydrogen fuel cells in its operations in the country.
Very good. Perhaps we might wrap things up here unless you have any further thoughts or things that you'd like to add.
That will do it for me at this point.
Thank you very much, and we wish our listeners a very good day. Thank you.
This podcast has been produced and edited by VSA Capital. It is intended for information purposes and not as investment advice. The information is intended for recipients who understand the risks associated with equity investments in smaller companies. Please do your own research and do not rely on a single source when making an investment decision. VSA Capital may derive fees from this content and seeks to do business with the companies mentioned.